Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. And today we are putting the pedal to the metal with Donut Lab and the future of EVs.
Donut Lab?
Yeah. I was wondering the same thing when I first saw this on the list, like Donut Lab, what is that all about? But then I started digging through some articles and I gotta say, I am pretty excited about this one.
Yeah.
So we've got articles from Electra, Varstechnica, New Atlas Right Apart, even Reuters chiming in on this, and some chatter on the EV Central forums, and of course a little background from Wikipedia. And they all point to one pretty crazy thing. Donut Lab might have just cracked the code on in-wheel motors for cars, a concept that's been around for over a century?
Yeah, well over a century.
Yeah.
That's a fascinating challenge, though.
Yeah.
And the potential payoff is huge.
Yeah.
Lighter, more efficient EVs across the board.
Right.
From, those nippy little city cars all the way up to powerful trucks.
Yeah.
We're even seeing whispers about motorcycles and drones using this tech.
Drones with in-wheel motors. Okay, now you're talking. So before we get too far ahead of ourselves, though, let's back up a bit. What is it about in-wheel motors that makes them so special? Like, how is this different from the EVs that we're seeing on the road right now?
Well, think of it this way. Electric vehicles give designers so much freedom.
Okay.
You're not stuck with a big bulky engine and transmission.
Right.
Like you are in a gas-powered car.
Yeah.
So where do you put the batteries and motors? Well, you can pretty much put them wherever you want.
It's like a blank slate for EV design.
Exactly. You can really play around with weight distribution for better handling.
Right.
You can open up space for more spacious interiors.
Yeah.
Even improve safety features. So if you want to take this design freedom to the next level,
yeah,
putting the motors right in the wheels, it seems like a natural evolution.
Okay, I can see the appeal there, but you said seems like. So what's the catch? Why aren't we all driving around in cars with motors in the wheels already?
Well, the idea of hub motors isn't new. In fact, it goes all the way back to the earliest days of the automobile. Remember Ferdinand Porsche?
The sports car guy.
That's the one.
Yeah.
Well, back in the early 1900s, he designed an electric car called the Loaner Porsche.
Okay.
And guess what? It had hub motors in the wheels.
Wow.
It even set speed records back then.
So this tech has been around for over a century. Why hasn't it caught on?
Well, there are a few classic problems that have kept hub motors from becoming mainstream, especially in cars.
Yeah.
One of the biggest is something called unsprung weight.
Unsprung weight.
Yeah, imagine all the parts of your car that aren't supported by the suspension. So, wheels, tires, brakes, and in this case, the motors. That's unsprung weight.
Okay.
And all that extra weight puts more stress on the suspension, which leads to a bumpier ride and less control over the car.
Okay.
It's kind of like trying to dance on a wobbly platform.
Yeah, not exactly ideal.
Not really the smooth, futuristic ride you'd expect from an EV.
Yeah.
And then there are the issues of durability and cooling.
Right.
Wheels take a constant beating on the road.
Yeah.
And early hub motors just weren't tough enough to handle it. Plus, cramming a powerful motor into a small wheel space.
Yeah.
Makes it really tricky to keep things cool. It's like trying to run a marathon in a sauna.
Yeah. So hub motors seem like a great idea in theory.
Yeah.
But they come with some serious baggage.
Yeah.
So how is Donut Lab claiming to overcome all of this?
Well, that's what makes their story so interesting.
Yeah.
This Finnish startup, with roots in high-performance electric motorcycles, unveiled their in-wheel motor at CES 2025.
Okay.
And it made quite a splash. Their automotive motor fits a 21-inch tire, weighs a mere 40 kilograms, and packs a punch with 630 kilowatts of power and a mind-blowing 4,300 newton meters of torque.
Whoa, hold on, 40 kilograms. That's lighter than some suitcases I've lugged around. But 630 kilowatts? I mean, that's like having multiple sports cars crammed into each wheel.
Yeah, it's a remarkable feat of engineering.
Yeah.
They've achieved this by focusing on lightweight materials, optimizing the motor's geometry, and relying on a passive cooling system.
Passive cooling, what does that mean?
So instead of using bulky fans and liquids to cool the motor, they've designed the motor and its housing to naturally dissipate heat.
Oh.
It's like how a cactus survives in the desert.
Right.
Its shape and structure help it stay cool in extreme temperatures.
So it's all about clever design.
Exactly.
Okay, but what about that unsprung weight problem? How do they keep the ride smooth with all that power packed into the wheels?
Well, they've tackled that with a combination of ingenious engineering and clever software.
Okay.
First, they minimize the impact of the motor on unsprung mass by using those lightweight materials and optimizing the motor's design.
Okay.
But here's the real kicker. They've developed software that uses real-time torque vectoring to compensate for that extra weight.
Okay, now you're going to have to break that down for me. What is torque vectoring and how does it work?
Imagine you're driving through a tight corner. Torque vectoring allows the car to individually adjust the power going to each wheel.
Uh-huh.
So if you're turning left,
Right.
the software might send more power to the outer wheels, helping you grip the road and take the corner smoothly.
Oh.
It's like having a tiny computer in each wheel, constantly making micro adjustments to ensure a stable and responsive ride.
So even though there's technically more weight at the wheels,
Yeah.
the software makes it feel like it's not even there.
Yeah, that's the idea.
That's pretty amazing.
They've essentially used technology to outsmart physics.
Yeah.
And the results seem to be quite impressive.
Yeah.
Early reports suggest that Donut Labs' system makes that unsprung weight virtually unnoticeable during normal driving.
Okay. I'm starting to see why there's so much buzz around Donut Lab. But wait, there's more, right? They're not just offering a motor, they're offering a whole ecosystem for EV design. Tell me about this donut platform I keep hearing about.
That's right. Donut Lab is thinking bigger than just individual motors. They've developed a modular system that includes battery modules, control units, and all the software you need to bring it all together.
So it's like a one-stop shop for EV manufacturers. They can just plug and play these components to build high-performance electric vehicles.
It is a bold move that could significantly speed up EV adoption and encourage even more innovation in the industry.
Yeah.
But some might argue that. Some might argue that offering such a complete system could stifle creativity.
Yeah.
With manufacturers becoming too reliant on a single supplier.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's like the age-old debate between, building something from scratch versus using pre-made components. But even if manufacturers go the donut platform route, don't they still have a lot of flexibility in terms of the vehicle's design and features?
Absolutely. The donut platform is more like a foundation upon which manufacturers can build their unique vision.
Okay.
It's like having a set of high-quality Lego bricks.
Yeah.
You can use them to create anything you can imagine, from a simple car to a complex, multifunctional vehicle.
Okay, that analogy works for me. Now, all this talk about cars is exciting, but Donut Labs technology isn't just limited to 4 wheels, right? Didn't you mention something about motorcycles? And what was that about drones?
Yes. You're right. Donut Labs' roots actually lie in the motorcycle world.
Okay.
They spun off from Verge Motorcycles.
Virtually motorcycles.
A company known for their innovative hubless electric bikes. Verge has already integrated Donut Labs tech into their TS model.
Wait, hubless electric bikes? So they're putting motors where the wheels should be? That's blowing my mind a little. How does it even work?
It's a pretty slick design, actually. The motor is integrated into the rim of the wheel.
Wow.
Which gives it that futuristic hubless look.
Yeah.
And because the motor is so compact and lightweight, it actually improves the bike's handling and agility.
So it's not just about aesthetics, it actually enhances performance.
Exactly. Riders are reporting incredible improvements in both acceleration and handling. That lighter, more compact motor design means less overall weight, which translates to a quicker, more responsive bike. And the precise torque control provided by Donut Lab software allows for a smoother, more controlled ride. It's like the bike becomes an extension of the rider's body.
Wow, that sounds like a thrilling ride. But, okay, motorcycles are one thing. What about applying this tech to something much larger, like a truck? I mean, those things are beasts. Can Donut Labs motors really handle that kind of weight and power demand?
That's where the modularity of the Donut platform really shines.
Okay.
Remember, it's not just about the motors themselves, it's a whole system.
Right.
So for heavier vehicles like trucks, you could scale up the battery modules and control units to handle the increased load.
Okay.
Like with Lego blocks,
Right.
you just add more blocks to make a bigger, stronger structure.
So it's a customizable powertrain solution. You can tailor it to fit the specific needs of the vehicle. That's pretty smart.
It is. And the benefits go beyond just performance. By eliminating those complex, heavy drivetrain components found in traditional trucks, you can potentially reduce the overall weight of the vehicle,
Right.
leading to better efficiency and range. And let's not forget about maintenance. Fewer moving parts mean less wear and tear,
Right.
which translates to lower maintenance costs and less downtime. That's a big win for commercial trucking fleets.
Okay, you've convinced me Donut Labs tech has the potential to be a game changer for EVs on the ground. But let's talk about those drones you mentioned earlier. Is that really a possibility? I mean, putting those powerful motors in something that flies seems a bit risky.
It's definitely a fascinating area of exploration. Remember those key principles we talked about? Compact size, high power density, and precise control.
Yeah.
Those all translate really well to aerial applications.
So you could have drones that are not only powerful enough to lift heavy payloads, but also incredibly agile and efficient thanks to those lightweight in-wheel motors.
Exactly. We'd be looking at a revolution in delivery services,
Wow.
aerial photography, even search and rescue operations. Imagine a drone that can zip through tight spaces, hover precisely, and carry heavy equipment.
Okay, now my brain is going into overdrive with possibilities. But let's be realistic here. Aren't there some serious technical hurdles to overcome before we see swarms of donut-powered drones filling the skies?
Of course, integrating this technology into aerial vehicles presents unique challenges.
Right.
Weight distribution, flight stability, and safety are all crucial factors that need to be carefully considered. And then there's the whole regulatory landscape for drones, which can be quite complex.
Right. The FAA isn't going to let just any high-powered drone take to the skies. So while the potential is there, it seems like drones with in-wheel motors are still a bit further down the road.
That's a fair assessment, but it's important to remember that technology moves incredibly fast. What seems like science fiction today could become reality tomorrow.
Right. Okay, so we've covered cars, motorcycles, trucks, and even touched on drones. Is there anything else Donut Labs technology could revolutionize? What about boats? Could we see in-wheel motors powering electric boats in the future?
It's certainly not out of the realm of possibility. The principles of electric propulsion apply, whether you're moving on land, in the air, or on water.
Right.
And Donut Labs' platform is all about adaptability.
Yeah.
So while we haven't seen any concrete examples of their tech being used in boats, yet it's definitely something to keep an eye on.
You're really getting me excited about the future of electric transportation. But with all this buzz around Donut Lab, I imagine there are also some skeptics out there. What are the critics saying?
Well, as with any disruptive technology, there are always going to be naysayers.
Sure.
Some critics argue that hub motors will never be as durable as traditional drivetrains,
Okay.
especially when it comes to handling the constant abuse of real-world driving conditions.
Yeah, that's a valid concern. What evidence does Donut Lab have to counter that?
They point to their rigorous testing procedures,
Okay.
which include putting their motors through extreme stress tests, simulating years of wear and tear in a short amount of time. They're also working closely with automotive manufacturers to ensure their motors meet the highest standards of reliability and durability.
So they're trying to address those concerns head on. But even if they can prove the durability of their motors, aren't there still challenges when it comes to integrating this technology into existing vehicle designs?
You're right. It requires a shift in thinking for many car manufacturers.
Yeah.
They're used to designing vehicles around a traditional engine and transmission setup. Donut Labs' platform requires them to rethink the entire vehicle architecture.
So it's not just a matter of swapping out the engine for some in-wheel motors. It's a more fundamental change.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
a paradigm shift in how we think about designing and building vehicles.
Okay, so there are definitely challenges ahead for Donut Lab, but the potential of their technology is undeniable. What's the overall buzz like in the industry? Are people excited, cautious, a bit of both?
From what we've seen in the tech world, it's a mix of excitement and cautious optimism. Publications like Ars Technica and New Atlas have praised Donut Labs' technology, calling it a potential game changer for EV design.
Okay.
And the chatter on enthusiast forums like EV Central is overwhelmingly positive.
Yeah.
People are thrilled by the possibilities this technology opens up.
It sounds like Donut Lab is making waves, but they're still in the early stages. What are the next steps for them? What's coming down the pipeline?
Well, one of the biggest challenges they face is scaling up production to meet the potential demand.
Right.
If they want to become a major player in the automotive world, they need to be able to produce their motors and platform components in large quantities.
That's a big hurdle to overcome.
Wow.
And they need to convince more car manufacturers to embrace their technology, right?
Absolutely. They need to build partnerships and demonstrate that their platform can be seamlessly integrated into a variety of vehicle designs, from compact cars to heavy-duty trucks.
It's a lot to take on for a young company, but they seem to be off to a strong start. Now, you mentioned that Donut Lab is getting a lot of attention from the tech press and EV enthusiasts. What about the general public? Are they aware of this potentially game-changing technology?
That's a good question. I think awareness is still building.
Yeah.
Most people outside of the tech and automotive circles probably haven't heard of Donut Lab yet. But as their technology starts to appear in more vehicles and as the media coverage grows, that's bound to change.
So it's a matter of time before Donut Lab becomes a household name?
It's certainly possible. They have a compelling story to tell, and their technology has the potential to impact everyone who drives a car, rides a motorcycle, or even orders a package delivered by drone.
Speaking of impact, let's shift gears a bit and talk about the broader implications of Donut Lab's technology. What does all this mean for the future of electric vehicles?
Well, I think it's safe to say the Donut Lab is shaking things up in the EV world.
Yeah.
Their innovative approach to hub motors and their modular platform are pushing the boundaries of what's possible in electric vehicle design.
So they're not just creating a new product, they're changing the game.
Exactly. They're challenging the status quo and inspiring others to think differently about how electric vehicles can be designed and built.
Okay, so they're disruptors. I like it. But what specific impacts could we see on the EV industry as a whole? Will other companies follow their lead? Will we see a shift towards more modular, customizable EV platforms?
Those are all great questions. And while it's still early to say for sure, I think it's likely that Donut Lab's influence will be felt across the industry. Their success could inspire other companies to explore the potential of hub motors and modular platforms.
So we could see a ripple effect leading to more innovation and faster adoption of electric vehicles.
That's certainly a possibility. And that brings us to the really exciting part, the impact on you, the consumer.
Okay, now you've got my attention. What can I expect to see as a result of Donut Lab's innovations? Will my next car have motors in the wheels?
Well, it might not happen overnight, but the possibilities are certainly intriguing.
Yeah.
Imagine electric vehicles that are not only more sustainable,
Right.
but also more powerful, efficient, and adaptable than their gas-powered counterparts. Imagine cars that can handle like sports cars, trucks that can haul heavy loads with ease, and motorcycles that offer a thrilling yet controlled ride.
It sounds like we're on the cusp of a whole new era of electric transportation, and Donut Lab is leading the charge.
That's one way to put it. But even with all this potential, it's important to remember that there are still challenges ahead.
Right, we've talked about the need for Donut Lab to scale up production, convince more manufacturers to adopt their technology, improve the long-term durability of their motors. What are some other potential roadblocks they might encounter?
One challenge they'll need to address is cost.
Okay.
Currently, their technology is likely to be more expensive than traditional drivetrain solutions. They'll need to find ways to bring down the cost of production if they want to make their platform accessible to a wider market.
That makes sense. Cutting-edge technology often comes with a hefty price tag. But as production scales up and the technology matures, we could see those costs come down right.
That's the hope. And as more companies adopt their technology and the competition heats up, that could also drive down prices.
So it's a classic supply and demand scenario. The more popular their technology becomes, the more affordable it will get. But what about consumer perception? Are people ready to embrace cars with motors in the wheels? It's a pretty radical departure from what we're used to.
That's a valid point.
Yeah.
There might be some initial hesitation from consumers who are unfamiliar with the technology.
Right.
Donut Lab will need to do a good job of educating the public about the benefits of their platform and addressing any safety concerns.
It sounds like they need a solid marketing strategy to get people on board with this new way of thinking about vehicles.
Absolutely. They need to highlight the advantages,
Right.
like improved performance efficiency and design flexibility.
Right.
And they need to showcase the technology in a way that resonates with consumers.
So no more dry technical explanations. They need to appeal to people's emotions and show them how this technology can enhance their lives.
Exactly. It's about painting a picture of a future where electric vehicles are not just a responsible choice, but also a desirable and exciting one.
Well, I'm definitely intrigued. And I'm eager to see how Donut Lab's story unfolds. But before we wrap up, I'd like to get your take on the bigger picture. What are the long-term implications of this technology for the automotive industry as a whole? Could Donut Lab spark a major shift in the way cars are designed and built?
It's certainly possible. Their modular platform has the potential to disrupt the traditional automotive supply chain.
Cool.
Instead of relying on a complex network of suppliers for different components,
Right.
manufacturers could turn to Donut Lab for a complete integrated system.
So it could streamline the manufacturing process and potentially lead to lower costs for car companies?
That's one possibility.
Yep.
And it could also open up new opportunities for smaller startups to enter the automotive market.
Interesting.
With Donut Lab's platform, they wouldn't need to develop their own drivetrain technology from scratch. They could focus on designing and building unique vehicles that cater to specific needs or niches.
So it could democratize the car industry, giving more players a chance to compete.
That's an interesting way to put it. And it could lead to a more diverse and innovative automotive landscape with a wider variety of electric vehicles to choose from.
That's a future I can get behind. But let's not get too carried away. There are still many unknowns, right?
Of course, technology is constantly evolving, and there's always a possibility of new breakthroughs that could change the game entirely.
So we need to stay flexible and adaptable. But for now, it seems like Donut Lab is at the forefront of the electric vehicle revolution. They're pushing the boundaries and making us rethink what's possible.
They are. And their story is a reminder that innovation often comes from unexpected places. Who would have thought that a small startup from Finland would be shaking up the global automotive industry?
It's a classic underdog story, and it's a testament to the power of ingenuity and determination. But even with all the excitement and potential, it's important to keep a level head.
You're right. We need to avoid getting caught up in the hype and remember that there are still many challenges to overcome.
So let's temper our enthusiasm with a dose of realism. But at the same time, let's acknowledge the incredible progress that Donut Lab has made and the exciting possibilities they've opened up.
Agreed. It's an exciting time to be following the electric vehicle revolution. And Donut Lab is a company worth watching closely.
Well said. Now, before we wrap up our deep dive into Donut Lab and the future of EVs, I want to leave our listeners with something to ponder. We've talked about the potential benefits of this technology, but what about the potential drawbacks?
That's an important question. As with any new technology, there's always the potential for unintended consequences.
Right. So let's take a moment to consider some of the possible downsides. For example, what about the environmental impact of producing all these electric motors and batteries? Is there a risk that we're simply shifting pollution from tailpipes to factories?
That's a valid concern. The production of batteries in particular can be quite energy intensive and resource intensive.
So it's not a completely clean solution.
Not yet. But the industry is working on ways to make battery production more sustainable, using renewable energy sources and developing more efficient recycling processes.
Okay, so there's progress being made on that front. But what about the potential impact on jobs? If electric vehicles become the norm, what will happen to the millions of people who work in the traditional automotive industry?
That's a complex issue with no easy answers. There will likely be some job displacement as the industry transitions to electric vehicles.
So some jobs will be lost, but new ones will be created.
That's the hope. The electric vehicle industry is creating new jobs in areas like battery production, software development, and charging infrastructure.
So it's a shift rather than a complete elimination of jobs.
Exactly. And there will need to be retraining programs and other initiatives to help workers transition to these new roles.
Okay, so the job landscape will evolve along with the technology, but what about the broader societal implications? How will our cities and infrastructure need to adapt to a world dominated by electric vehicles?
That's a fascinating area to consider. We'll need to expand our charging infrastructure significantly to accommodate the growing number of electric vehicles on the road.
Right, we can't all be fighting over the same few charging stations. And what about the electric grid? Will it be able to handle the increased demand from all those EVs plugging in?
That's a challenge that utilities are already working to address. They're upgrading the grid and exploring new ways to manage the load from electric vehicles.
So it's a complex web of interconnected challenges and opportunities, but it seems like the momentum behind electric vehicles is unstoppable. And Donut Lab is right there in the thick of it, pushing the boundaries and driving innovation.
They are. And their story is a reminder that even small companies can have a big impact on the world.
It's an inspiring thought, and it leaves us with a lot to think about as we move towards a more sustainable and electrified future. But for now, we'll have to leave it there. Stay tuned for part 3 of our deep dive, where we'll delve into
some of the wildest, most innovative EV concepts that Donut Lab's technology could enable. Are you ready to let your imagination run wild?
I'm always up for a good thought experiment. Let's see what we can come up with.
Okay, so we've established that Donut Lab's in-wheel motors and modular platform have the potential to revolutionize the way we design and build electric vehicles. But what does that actually look like in practice? What kind of crazy futuristic EVs could we see hitting the roads or skies in the next decade or two?
Well, one of the most exciting possibilities is the rise of hyper-efficient micromobility solutions.
Okay.
Imagine tiny single-seater EVs designed specifically for urban environments.
Okay.
They could be incredibly lightweight and nimble thanks to Donut Lab's compact motors, and their small size would make them perfect for navigating crowded streets and parking in tight spaces. So like little electric pods zipping around the city. I could definitely see the appeal of that, especially with parking becoming such a nightmare in most urban areas. But wouldn't these tiny EVs be limited in terms of range and practicality?
Not necessarily.
Yeah.
Remember, Donut Lab's platform is all about modularity.
Right.
So you could have different battery pack options to suit different needs. For short commutes or errands around town, a smaller, lighter battery pack would suffice. And for longer trips, you could easily swap in a larger battery pack.
So it's like having a customizable range. That makes sense. But let's go bigger. What about the world of high-performance EVs? Could Donut Labs technology lead to some seriously fast and powerful electric supercars?
Absolutely. Imagine an electric supercar with a motor in each wheel, providing unprecedented levels of torque and acceleration. We're talking about 0 to 60 times that would make your head spin. And with the precise torque vectoring capabilities of Donut Labs software, these cars could handle like they're on rails.
Wow, that sounds like every speed demon's dream. But let's get practical again. What about the everyday cars that most people drive? How could Donut Labs technology impact the design and functionality of those vehicles? Well, one of the biggest advantages is the increased interior space. By eliminating the need for a traditional engine and transmission, you could have much more spacious and comfortable cabins. Imagine a compact electric car with the interior space of a mid-sized sedan. That would be a game changer for families or anyone who values a spacious and versatile vehicle. But what about off-roading? Could we see rugged electric SUVs and trucks designed to tackle tough terrain?
Definitely. Remember, Donut Labs motors are incredibly powerful and durable. And with a motor in each wheel, you could have incredible traction and control even on the most challenging surfaces. Imagine an electric Jeep or a Ford Raptor, but with silent, all-electric power.
Okay, now that's a vehicle I'd love to take for a spin.
Yeah.
But let's shift gears again. We've talked about cars, trucks, and even motorcycles. But what about other forms of transportation? Could Donut Labs technology revolutionize public transportation?
It's certainly a possibility. Imagine electric buses with in-wheel motors providing smooth, quiet, and efficient transportation. Or how about high-speed electric trains powered by a network of Donut Lab motors along the tracks?
Wow, that would transform the way we travel. But let's not forget about the skies. We talked earlier about the potential for donut-powered drones. What other aerial applications could we see?
Well, the possibilities are really limitless. Imagine electric air taxis providing quick and efficient point-to-point transportation within cities or between nearby urban centers. Or how about electric cargo planes transporting goods silently and sustainably?
Okay, now you're really getting my imagination fired up. Electric air taxis, silent cargo planes. It sounds like something out of a science fiction movie. But who knows, maybe it's not as far-fetched as it seems. Donut Lab is certainly pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
They are. And it's important to remember that these are just a few examples. As the technology continues to evolve, we're likely to see even more innovative and unexpected applications emerge.
So the future of electric transportation is wide open, and Donut Lab is leading the way with their disruptive technology and bold vision.
That's a great way to sum it up. They're a company to watch, and we'll be following their progress with great interest.
Well said. And on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive into Donut Lab and the future of electric vehicles. We hope you've enjoyed the journey as much as we have.
It's been a pleasure exploring this fascinating topic with you.
And to our listeners, we encourage you to keep those imaginations firing. What wild and innovative EV concepts can you dream up? The future is waiting to be built, and who knows, maybe your idea will be the next big thing to revolutionize the world of transportation. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep innovating.